questions for AC? Go ahead.
Okay, good session.
Alex, what was the summer like for you? Just, traveling with the trophy too, taking it back to College Station and the celebration of that.
Yeah, that was really cool. I didn't get the chance to do that the first time, just because of where we were as a world with COVID and everything that was going on. So that was fun to be able to go back and share it with some people that have seen me, kind of ascend, to that pinnacle of this profession through the years. So it was a lot of fun. Yeah, a quick couple days, and then kind of just continued on with my summer.
Wanted to ask you about Chet. He's dealt with some major injuries that maybe have delayed part of his development, but still saw the impact that he could have. What are some of the areas that you think he could reach kind of a next level?
Yeah, I think just through time, experience is the greatest teacher. So to be able to just be out there and get, like you said, live reps and the inconsistency, I think, of like timing with the injuries too. It's like he's playing a little bit and then he had the first one, and then, or before his first year, he had the first one, and then played for a little bit in the second one. So just getting that rhythm back, I think was really impressive for him, just to be able to not play all of last year basically, and then come into towards the end of the year and try and get back in shape, try and get the timing down. So I think the more comfortable he gets, just continuing to find his rhythm and find the flow of basketball that comes naturally to him will be great, and hopefully this season, those reps and that experience will continue to just help him develop.
You've been a defending champion before. I'm trying to remember if you went to Chicago right after that next year.
No, we have one more year in LA.
Year, okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of been.
It was forgettable. That's why you don't remember it.
So the point is, you've been a defending champion before. None of you guys in your locker room have before. Is that something you talk about? Or again, as Mark said, you guys got an uncommon group. You don't think you need to do that?
Being uncommon is being, aware and self-aware, and I think, if we didn't acknowledge that it will be a little different this year, you'd be, probably a little naive and put yourself behind the 8 ball. But yeah, playing with the target on your back this year, I think there was a lot of times last year, even through our dominance through the regular season, that people kind of overlooked it, or just was like, all right, well, let's wait and see how it pans out when it matters. And I think proving it in the playoffs and winning the championship, solidifies that a little bit, at least in the basketball community, as far as like how you prepare for somebody, maybe there's the respect you give them on any given night. So that will be different regardless of, we want it to be the same or normal. Like, our routine won't change, but we have to have the self-awareness and acknowledge that playing with the target on your back as the defending champions is different.
Alex, you mentioned the basketball community. I wanted to ask you, you have the most nicknames of anybody on this team on Basketball Reference, 7. How many can you name?
They actually just did it like 2 stations ago, so I could probably name all of them. I know I'm cheating a little bit. They asked me my favorite one. I think Caruso is probably the favorite one. You want me to go through all of them?
No, you're fine.
I can't.
Oh, well, yeah, let's go.
I did it 3 stations ago. Caruso, Accountant, Bald Mamba, White Mamba 2.0. How many was that?
4. I think 4.
Oh, maybe I can't name all 7. Which ones am I missing?
Bald Eagle,
Bald Eagle.
Goat, and
yeah.
AC, just the easy one.
Oh, that one doesn't count. 6. 4 to 6, pretty good.
Alex, he talked about, you being the only one who's had a championship season after winning one. Is there anything you can take away from that season after you guys won over in Los Angeles and apply it here?
Yeah, it's kind of difficult too, because that year after was so it was so different than I think of how we're entering this season. The only similarities really are like how short of a time period we had to get back to it. But that second year I was in LA after we won the championship, or the 4th year, but first year afterwards, we had a fairly new team. We only had maybe 4 or 5 guys returning from that championship team, whereas this year is pretty much the exact same DNA of the team makeup. So one thing I do know is, what I alluded to earlier is that people know you're the reigning champs. Seats fill up a little easier. People start making shots maybe when they don't normally make shots. So things are stacked against you a little bit, but that's part of what being great takes is, you know, being a champion, being number one, and then backing it up and seeing what you can do next. Because, you know, once the first game is played this year, everyone's going to kind of remember the championship, but it's on to the new season. Like, there's no looking back. Like, nothing we did last year is going to help us achieve the goal again this year.
I guess along those lines, Alex, you know, the last 6 champions either, you know, didn't get past the second round, or they were first round knockout like the Lakers that year. What can the Thunder do to break that chain going into next season? I know it's hard to predict because it's so early, but just from the outset, what comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, just finding ways to get better. I think the big thing for us, you know, we took, well, other than maybe, you know, the first and the conference finals, like the other 2 series went 7 games, so there's obviously room for improvement. And I think if, you know, you come into the season thinking that it's going to be smooth sailing and it's just going to be the same thing, you know, like I said a word earlier, very naive to what reality is like, because every season has a different story. Every team, you know, writes a different story each season, just based on how many games there are, the ebbs and flows of the season. You know, injuries occur, things you can't predict, things you can't control. So I think for us, it's really just about seeing and finding ways to get better. And I think we do have room to improve, like I said, because teams took us to 7 games. It wasn't like we won 16 games in a row and, you know, we're crowned champions. So there's definitely room for improvement. It's just about finding those areas and then working on it throughout the season.
Yeah, Alex, last year, of course, we had some intrigue to start the season. You and Isaiah had joined the team. This year, nobody's joined the team that's going to play. What are the advantages and disadvantages of just literally turning the roster, running it back?
Yeah, I mean, the continuity part obviously helps. You know, it's not a lot of teaching early in the year, whereas, you know, on different teams with new guys and you learn the different concepts and kind of strategically how you want to play. I think for us, you know, that fighting the complacency, fighting the human nature of, you know, winning and not sitting back and resting, but being, you know, on the front foot and being attacking the season and attacking the process of trying to get better, which I think we'll do a phenomenal job with. You know, obviously the season we had last year is, you know, up there with some of the greats that have ever happened in the NBA. So I think assuming you're going to win as many games and win the championship, like I said, this word is coming up again, is a little naive. Like, you have to prepare yourself for tomorrow's first day of training camp. We got to go through practices, we got to go through preseason, we got to play 82 games. Like, there's a lot of stuff that has to happen, and I think, you know, through that, just finding little motivations along the way, you know, whether it's, you know, through the team, through the collective. Like you said, we have a bunch of guys coming back, so finding different, you know, carrots to tie on the end of the stick to chase. I think that's probably a big thing too, because obviously the goal is to win a championship. You know, whether it's our team returning a bunch of guys with experience or people that have, you know, revamped their team that have new life and new spirit, but, you know, the process of getting there is difficult for everybody, no matter if you're returning everybody or, you know, you got 6 new guys.
A lot of times we think about young guys, first, second, third year in the league. Hey, what do you want to get better at? You're a veteran. What do you want to get better at? What's that you would like to see?
Yeah, I think for me, it's pretty, at least in my mind, and I think in coach's mind, it's pretty, you know, transparent how I'm going to play and how I fit into the team. So I think it's just about creating the efficiency within that role. You know, I think I've finally grasped that towards the end of the season and into the playoffs. I think I started to play really well, kind of to the capabilities that I had played, you know, previous year and a half, 2 years in Chicago before I came here. So I think it's just about building on that. You know, I think it's about becoming more efficient defensively, you know, probably fouling less, probably trying to become a more efficient decision maker on second side action, late clock offense whenever the ball comes to me, and then just finding little ways to impact the team and kind of raise the level of others.
Alex, did you ever request the Larry O'Brien Trophy at your wedding reception?
No, and everyone keeps asking me. I like to keep that separate from basketball. I think that was the main focus of me and my wife is to try and create that moment for us and the people that we care about as much as we could. We had a lot of time this summer to celebrate the trophy, and so we tried to keep that towards celebrating us.
Anything else?
Yeah, one last thing. So how does a veteran leader like yourself help someone like Topic? You mentioned the continuity. Well, that's the most significant difference.
Yeah.
How does somebody in your position help a young guy like that fit into all of this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the great thing about Tope is that, you know, it's kind of a blessing in disguise. You get hurt like that at such a young age because you kind of learn the discipline of being a professional through that trial. Just to be able to come back from an injury of that nature, you know, it takes a lot of discipline, it takes a lot of focus, a lot of days where you just, you know, I saw him last year. He's just him and his, you know, Dan, who was his specialist that was on the staff. That was just him. They're working together, doing the same things every day. So that part of it, I think, is ingrained in him, will be great. And then just giving him the confidence and trying to help him learn, you know, through the fire. You know, that's really what it is. We saw that a little bit with AJ last year, where really talented players, you're going to get minutes because Coach Mark trusts guys. You know, if you're a good player, you're going to play. You're going to find time through the season. And I think for him, it's just about, you know, trying to fine-tune his game and accelerate that learning curve that comes with being a new player in the NBA. And for him, I think he'll be fine because he's pretty emotionless, for the most, you know, to put it lightly. He's starting to make jokes now, which is great. He's getting more comfortable. But for him, I think it's just about, you know, letting him know that making mistakes is okay, and then being the player he is, he's a really good player.
Anything else? Thanks, AC.